Yo, how are you doing, folks? Welcome to episode 31 of the Simpa Life Podcast with me, Simpa. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Maka. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing very, very well. As you can see, I'm sporting a brand new t-shirt. I'm thinking I'm going to fucking live in it. I absolutely love it. For those of you that can't see it, it's a Kendrick Lamar t-shirt that I ordered about 6 weeks ago, and I think it had to be made in Siberia because it didn't actually, or was it Siberia or Russia or something like that, and it had to come through the whole fucking way. I think somebody drove it in their car. Do you know what I mean? Come on, we're going for a spin. But yeah, it's a proper one. I wanted to get an official one, but for some reason it didn't make the Kung Fu Kenny ones, which is very disappointing. But yeah, I'm doing very well, and yeah, I'm gonna probably live in this. That's the point I'm trying to make. How are you?
All right, nice. I'm good. I'm good. I'm also happy with my t-shirt choice today. It's unfuck the system for those that can't see it if you're listening online. Yeah, I'm good. I'm enjoying the sun, late days. Even when the weather's kind of crap, it's still pretty warm. So I'm content and happy, and I'm really buzzing to get today's guest on. So that segues wonderfully. Do you see how smooth that was, Mike? That was smooth. Straight into today's guest. If you've ever been to any of the UK underground cannabis events, or if you're an active member of, I suppose what it's termed, the UK cannabis community, you'll be very familiar with our guest today, Mayor Green, Mr. Farhan Hussain. How are you today, brother?
I'm very well, thank you. Very happy to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Anytime. So would you mind giving our listeners and our viewers a bit more of an in-depth sort of look at who you are and kind of what brought you here today?
Of course, why not? Hi, I am known as Mayor Green of the UK cannabis community. I've been named that by members of the cannabis community as I attended the events, and then people just started tagging me. So I sort of just went along with it. And that's kind of just stuck with it. But yeah, I've been a mental health patient. I've suffered from depression, stress, insomnia, anxiety, severe anxiety, to speak of the least. And insomnia has been one of the craziest ones that you go through days and days without sleeping, and it really plays a big part on your mental health. You don't realize it. Mood swings and grumpiness and all sorts go with it. Also, I am a chronic pain sufferer. Back in 2008, when I used to work for DHL in the warehouse, I got bitten by some type of a foreign insect that came back in one of the bags, mail sacks, that we had to shake up and reuse. So an insect flew out of it, and apparently I got bitten by some type of foreign insect, which caused me to have cellulitis on my legs. So it started on my left leg. I got inflammation, severe inflammation, ended up getting taken into A&E by the supervisor. And then when I got taken into A&E at Croydon University Hospital, I was told that if I was half an hour late, my leg would have had to be amputated from my knee downwards to stop the infection from spreading throughout my body. And at that time, obviously, I didn't know what this thing was. I've never experienced anything like it. No one in my family or friends know anything about it. But the dermatologists seem to think that it's a normal thing, that obviously they deal with these type of tropical conditions all the time. But I got told that I've been bitten by some type of foreign insect, and they cannot get it out of my system just yet. I think the best suggestion they was suggesting was to amputate my legs from my knees downwards, and I completely went against that. I said, "There's no ways that you're taking my legs." So I went on to have my legs treated. I was hospitalized for 2-3 weeks. They couldn't get the infection out. So the dermatologist, the regular checkups with the dermatologist, and they ended up saying that if you're lucky, you can get away with taking the antibiotics and painkillers in 10 years. Otherwise, it's going to be a lifetime problem where you just have to live with it. And what happens is that it starts off from a pinhole, and it becomes that big and quite deep into my ankle. So it's an ulcer that opens up, and it's just around my ulcer. So any movement I do, it aggravates and causes me a lot of severe pain with nerve damage. Um, so that went on. That happened and started in September 2008. So in the beginning, my ulcers used to take 3 months to 5 months to heal up. Over the years, whereas I've had this injury and I've compensated on my other feet and other parts of body to take the pressure off my legs. I've ended up with this ulcer spreading onto my other leg as well. So it's been bouncing around from my left leg to my right leg over the years. The very last time I think that I went to my surgery and they had a look at my ulcers. They said this was just before I gave up all the tobacco, all the nicotine, all the pharmaceutical. My last ulcer took about 5 years to heal up. So when it started off from 3 months, I kept on going back to work and trying to get back into employment every time I ran out of funds and had to support my boys as I'm a single dad, supporting my two boys. And, I had to move back into my mother's house. My mother said, come and live back with me. I'll help you out with the bringing up of the children, and you can help with the payment of the bills and help support me. And I said, well, that sounds like a plan. It works out both ways. And that's what I did. So I moved back in with my mum. And then she helped me out, bring up my boys, whereas I went to work and put the bread on the table. Then I was becoming so zombified of the pharmaceutical painkillers and antibiotics that I was on constantly. I had to have one of my children go with me to the doctor's surgery, because of what used to happen. I used to be so zombified of the antibiotics and painkillers that I'd sit on a wall somewhere, really confused. I'd lose my mobile, I'd lose my bus pass, I'd lose track of where I'm supposed to be going. And this became such a regular occurrence that I became so fed up. It put me in such a depressive mood that I started having a nervous breakdown. Then having the will to, losing the will to live, because I'm in this vicious circle where I'm just taking the medication to get rid of the pains that I was going through and to help me with sleep, because I've lost sleep over this. So much pains that I'm ending up with chest pains, and I'm having to have blackouts. I'm losing track of time because I'm putting up with this pain, and it's becoming severe and severe. I've been to see a pain specialist. I've been to see other types of specialists. They even talked about doing maggot treatment, where they get a little tea bag and then they put specialized trained maggots into the tea bag, and then they put that into the ulcer and cover it up. Was one of the older treatments that that used to be used in the medical NHS to get rid of the ulcers, because the maggots would eat up all the dead skin on the inside. So that happened once, I think. And then after that, the doctors decided to strip a vein from my left leg from all the way up my upper thigh, all the way down to my ankle, saying that that's the vein that's causing the blood circulation problem in your legs, and which was causing the inflammation down at the bottom. So I said, okay, well, they've stripped the vein now, and I'm hoping that this problem is sorted out. 3 months go by, and then this problem starts coming back again. So I'm saying to them, well, clearly it wasn't the vein that you stripped, because I'm still in the situation again. I said, are we going to have to operate again? I said, how many veins do you with my leg that you're going to keep stripping off, and then the blood's just going to have to find a reroute direction to go down and bounce back up again? And they said, well, we'll have to do something. I said, well, you've had your chance of stripping the vein. You've done that. And obviously 3 months later, the problems come back. So now they're telling me that, it's unfortunately, this type of illness is normally caused by prolonged standing, as well as being bitten by some type of a foreign insect. They're saying you're too young to have this problem. Usually it's elderly people over the age of 65 that have this condition, because by the time they get to that age, they've worked so hard on their bones, it's wear and tear, and they end up with this situation. I said, well, okay, well, what do I do since you're telling me that I've got this situation now? How do I get back to normality and, get myself back into work and so on? I said, well, you can't, unfortunately. You'll just have to go with the way things are and keep taking your antibiotics and painkillers and keep going for your regular checkups. So I've sort of been left with that guidance, and that guidance has been repeating for years and years and years. And now I've come to a point where I've become suicidal and losing the will to live, because I can't bear it anymore. That I end up snapping at my family for trying to help me and trying to suggest that they, give me suggestions, and I'm being short-tempered and snappy at everyone. I became so disgusted with my behavior that I just wanted to end it. And then one of my friends, I was already a recreational consumer that consumed with tobacco from since I was a teenager. But for me to, I sort of had to give myself a lifeline and find a way out. I said, this can't be it for me. I'm just, there has to be a give. That I've been suffering such a long time. It can't just continue being in this way, surely. So I started looking into, on YouTube, into cannabis treatments. And I came across Tyler Green from I Smoke Media. And then more than often, I kept coming up and bumping into his reviews. So I took it as a sign that I'm being pushed in this direction and introduced to this person via his videos. And I liked it so much that he does so much of his research before he actually does his reviews. It's mind-blowing that I don't have to put myself through the stress and the pressures of going through that research, whereas this gentleman is doing all the research and he's putting that information out there for people like myself who don't know. And at that time, I didn't really know much about the cannabis community. I was a cannabis consumer, but not as intellectual or knew about the awareness of cannabis, because I thought that, I know about smoking. I know everything about smoking. I used to roll up in all the spliffs with tobacco. And I said, nobody knows better than me because I'm an old school smoker. But really, when I gave up tobacco and came away from the pharmaceuticals and the manipulation that tobacco has on you, the grip of the addiction, is only when I realized, no, there's a whole world out there. And I'm just at the step zero, really.
Yeah.
My journey is just about to begin, because everything that I've consumed before now was with tobacco. So that was all diluted. So for me, all those accounts and all those strain reviews, they don't matter anymore. You see, so now my journey is going to start from scratch, all pure, and I'll get the pure terpenes and pure medicinal benefits. So I start looking at his reviews and start hearing about events taking place and edibles and small vaporizer cartridges. And I thought, wow, okay. So it seems that I could give these things a go. And hang on, let me just take these off, because I forget that you can't see my eyes. And I'm so used to wearing them that it's just normal for me. I do apologize. I start getting into learning and educating myself and taking in all the information that was being passed on. And I'm opening up my mind and I'm raising awareness within myself to realize, wow, this sort of thing actually happens. And it happens in this country. So I want to be part of this. I want to, I'm a stoner, I consume weed. And if there's any chance that I could be supporting this, then I want to go for it. So I started looking into more videos and then find out about this Parliament event that was taking place. So I built up the courage I couldn't sleep for I think 3 days prior to that event taking place. And I prepared everything. I said, I'm going to take myself there. I'm going to wear this T-shirt. I'm going to wear this clothing. I'm going to be all covered up so no one sees where it says, I had the United Patients T-shirt on, and it was a nice T-shirt because I ordered it online from the UPA. And then I wore that and I went to Westminster, and I came out to the station, and it was the first time I was there, because I'm born and raised here, but I've never actually sort of been outside of Croydon as much because I've always been at work. So it was like really busy and crowded there. I was like, oh, I'm here, but how do I find everyone? Where do I go to find the flags? I don't see anyone. All I see is tourists with cameras. And it's like, I feel like a tourist too. What do I do? Shall I just ask someone? I just stood there for about 10 minutes wondering which direction to go in, because I didn't even know which direction the event was taking place in. So all of a sudden I was like, oh, do you know what? I've come all this way. I can't just turn around and go back without walking around. My anxiety was through the roof. And that's when I saw the Durham City Cannabis flag flying from a distance. And I was like, hey, I've been following you guys on social media. You don't know me, but I'm gonna catch up to you. So there was me with my, just rushing past the crowds, trying to get up to the flag. Just about got to the top of the stairs before the flag disappeared down to the underground. It was Simpa, and I think it was Trevor Coleman. That was just about to go down, and I said, "No, stop! I'm one of your fans. I've come to take part in the event. Could you please point me in the right direction? I'm so happy that I bumped into you." Something along those lines. I was so excited that yes, I'm face to face with this person that I'm watching on social media that's inspiring me to take part in the community. So obviously I spoke to Simpa, I spoke to Trevor Coleman, and then from there they went and then pointed me in that direction, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go in that direction. But as I got to the crossing, I sort of got to the road now, and I'm like, oh, which direction did they say? Was it that direction? I was like, oh no, please, who am I going to ask? They've disappeared. So I've started to cross the road, and I see this shortish lady just walking along and being all jolly, and I see her wearing a United Patients Alliance badge, which I recognized because I was wearing the T-shirt.
Yeah.
And I was like, I recognize that badge, and I just went up to her, pointing at the badge, and I was like, and she must have thought, who's this person coming up to me? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to scare you or nothing, but I recognize that United Patients Alliance badge, and there's a cannabis event that's taking place here. I just don't know where it is. And she goes, oh, it's just down here. Just go down here. And then she was kind enough to bring me along. And then she even stayed extra time with me to make sure that I was comfortable. And I met the UPA team. And then they had the medicated sandwiches there. They had the sandwich and the tea table there. So she went and got me introduced with everyone. And then I just said hello. And, I wasn't wearing a suit or anything at that time, but I did have my CBD hat on, and I was cannabis patients. I was proud, and that's when Black the Ripper was there, and I met up with Eggs and Clark Wrench, and that's when I first got introduced to the dry herb vaporization scene. And my first experience with the Ariser through Brighton Cannabis Club. And that was a complete eye-opener. When I tried that dry herb vaporizer with Clark Wrench and Ags, it was amazing. It just changed my whole perspective about cannabis consumption. And I was like, wow, what are these flavors coming through? How come you can taste the actual flowers and everything? And obviously,
Farhan, how has it helped you? So you've gotten to that point, and you've had a period of time now where you've embraced this this plant in almost every facet: edibles, vaporization, smoking, and a whole lot. How has it helped you in comparison to the state you were in, the zombified pharmaceutical state that you were in?
Good question.
Thank you for that question. I did drift off a bit.
This all right.
I watched Simpa Carter's and I Smoke Media. They both did an article with regards to the British culture of how we're sort of grown up into consuming with tobacco and the carcinogens about tobacco use. So I've tried giving up tobacco in the past, you see, and I've never been able to give up for more than a day. It's just never happened. And the only time I did have a big gap was when I was admitted into hospital and I was bedbound. I couldn't walk. So that was a gap of 2 weeks there. That's when I realized that I was having withdrawal symptoms and all. So what was happening is that I saw this, I suffer from dyslexia. So reading is a big issue for me. I at times read words and I jump, not intentionally, I jump words and then my eyes become watery. I end up with a migraine. So sometimes I try not to go into too much reading. I'll read a paragraph or two, but I know that if I continue, I'll cause myself grief. So I managed to read the article, and by the time I had finished reading the article, it had sort of embedded into my brain in such depth that the half packet of American Spirit that I had at that time, I've still got in my drawer as a reminder that I don't need you.
Yeah.
And from that point onwards, I gave up all my dead stop, no tobacco.
So then, since then, you've given up tobacco. Then, what have you found, as sort of to go back to Macca's question, has been the main benefit of you consuming cannabis? How has it affected your mental health, your physical health?
It's improved it, as in that has given me the confidence to be able to go out by myself, have conversations with people without having the fear of overthinking without having the fear of meeting up with people and speaking with people like I used to. So it's given me that self-confidence. Plus,
so I was going to say, so you'd say it was reduced anxiety, sort of anxiety, social anxiety.
Yeah. It's reduced it severely. Like, it's taken me out of the severeness and it's just made it controllable. I gave up. So after that tobacco, giving up the tobacco, I decided to give up all my tablets, all my paracetamols, morphine, mirtazapines. I stopped everything with the tobacco. And then I just went straight onto cannabis. So I had vaporizers with me. I managed to get a dry herb vaporizer, a riser from, at that time it was Canterbury Cannabis Club, but now he's ICBD Global. And I bought his vaporizer, and then I started using the dry herb vaporizer. So then I started getting edibles as well, and I had brownies and capsules with me. I had been consuming this for 3 weeks constantly, and I hadn't visited my GPs in that gap. So when I did go to visit my GPs, they actually couldn't believe how my legs had improved. So my legs, from previous ulcers where it took 5 years to heal up, now they've just healed up within the space of 4.5 months. And they were so shocked that they couldn't believe what was going on. So they asked me, what have you been doing? And at that time, I thought I was in real trouble, because the nurse went and called the senior nurse. She called us the junior doctor, junior called the head doctor. So there was 4 of them standing there and questioning me. And I was like, well, what I've done is that I've given up all of your pharmaceuticals. I've given up all of the painkillers. I've given up tobacco. I put down my vaporizers on the table, capsules, my brownie. I had the dry herb vaporizer, and I had the cannabis balm that I started using, which I got from Hempress Rising, Sister Jade. And that actually started the healing process on the inside of my ulcers, which helped with the regeneration of the skin tissue. So now I've said this, I've put everything down on the table, and I said, all I'm doing now is consuming cannabis pure. And this is helping me with my mental health and my physical health. So they've turned around and said to me that whatever you've been doing, keep doing it. You've changed their opinion towards cannabis for the better. If we hadn't witnessed it with you stage by stage by coming into the surgery to get your compression bandages changed twice a week, we wouldn't even bother looking into it because it's illegal. So we're not going to waste our time looking into something that we don't need to. So I said, okay. So they said, well, you just keep doing what you're doing. We can't prescribe it to you. So keep doing it and make sure you keep yourself stocked up and bring your cream with you every time you come for your dressings. So that, in a way, it gave me another boost of confidence to make me feel that it's not just all in my head. It's the healing is actually really taking place, and my mental health is improving. So I'm able to go to my GPs on my own and explain this to them and tell them what's happening and what changes I've made. At that time, I also started onto a vegan diet. So I'd done that for a year and a half, which also added to my good health.
Yeah, it sounds like you really had a combination of all things. So if you've taken that approach, you've reduced a massive inflammatory substance like tobacco. Obviously, what we know about the buildup with taking painkillers and such compounded pharmaceutical substances can damage other peripheral systems. We're only just starting to get to the research on that because obviously the same way the tobacco industry hid all their reports, the pharmaceutical industry are hiding their reports on the damage of the long-term exposure to some of these substances. This is why they're trying to adjust guidelines. So obviously they said that they weren't able to and couldn't prescribe cannabis. Where do you currently stand? Obviously since 2018 and the law change, are you, I suppose as they call them, I'll air quote for those that can't see, medical cannabis patient?
Now I have, just quite recently. It's been a few months now that I first of all I googled up because you've got all these cannabis cards popping up. So I just wanted to make sure that I was covered with the correct card. So what I did, I ended up applying to all of them. So I applied to the CAN card, I entered a MedCan card, and the other one, and then this official one that you get through the medical cannabis clinics. And how I got onto that, I got so frustrated, and I said, my money that I'm getting through personal independence payment because of my leg injuries, of not being able to work, and my employment support allowance. Now, when that comes through, what I do is that I take half of that and I give it to my mum towards rent for the house, towards the bills, and towards the cost of my boys and my living. It's not as much as I should, but it's the least I could do. And then the rest of that money, I have to budget for myself and put that towards my medication, my herbal medication. But now that tobacco is out of the equation, I'm not craving for it as much as I used to. So where I used to consume a quarter every other day, now a quarter, 7 grams, lasts me 7 days. And I've dropped my tolerance down because that's the lowest I could do it to.
It's a sensible way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, once the tobacco comes out of the equation, your health starts to improve, and your consumption level cuts down. It's because you don't have that addiction wanting to carry on smoking. So now I only consume when I'm in agony. So it's I try to go as far out as long as possible without it. But then when the pain becomes unbearable, it's I have to, and it has to be done on a daily basis.
I'm sorry, go on.
I noticed during the first lockdown, when the first lockdown happened, I was unable to go out and get my herbal medication, and no one was able to come and deliver it to me. So I went 3 weeks without any herbal medication. And that's when I realized that a second ulcer flared up on my right ankle. So whereas I had one ulcer on one ankle, now I've got one ulcer on each ankle, and it's 2 ulcers that I'm dealing with, both legs. And I realized that that only flared up because I starved my endocannabinoid system's receptors with the cannabinoids that weren't going into my system for that period of time. And now because I've starved my body, my body is reacting and telling me that it cannot cope, and it's all these ulcers are popping up. So my health actually deteriorated. So now I know for a fact that I need cannabis on a daily basis to keep my maintain my well-being and keep the balance, because otherwise I'm going to get sick again. And that only happened. I only experienced that due to the lockdown. If the lockdown hadn't happened, I probably wouldn't have experienced that. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So how did that lead to you then getting a prescription?
Oh, yes. I Googled for help. So I typed in UK medical cannabis, and the first one that came up was the medical cannabis clinic. I went, oh, okay, I'm going to click into this. And then I just followed the instructions, and I booked a consultation appointment, got the consultation. The first consultation was £70. Yeah, it was £70. And at that time, it didn't give me the option to choose Project T21. It just had the £170 price for the consultation. So I clicked onto it, had my consultation. I didn't know what I was expecting, hadn't done any research or know what I was, even if I was going to qualify to get a medical cannabis prescription. I've spoken to a doctor for chronic pain. That's what I actually applied for. And the doctor asked to have a look at my wounds. So I've undressed the dressings on my ankles, and I've showed him my wounds. And as soon as he's looked at it, he's gone, oh, I can't look at it anymore. You definitely need THC cannabis. I can't believe that doctors have sort of left you to get on with it and for you to suffer like this. You definitely need cannabis for your chronic pains. So I went, oh, okay, so I qualify, do I? And he went, well, with me you qualify, but I have to put your case forward to the rest of the colleagues, and if they agree that you pass, then your prescription will be sent to the pharmacy, Dispensary Green, and they will contact you to let you know that they received your prescription copy, and they'll collect the payment, and then from there you go forward. I said, oh, okay, all right then. So how long will this take before I can actually find out whether I've qualified or not? And he said it's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks. I said, whoa, okay, well, all right, then I can wait. By this time, the excitement is going through the whole of my body that, oh, okay, it seems like I have possibly qualified, which I did not think that would, I would qualify, because my GP actually knows that I consume cannabis. And every time that I went to him, he would ask me, are you going to have any, you need to take these antibiotics, you need to take these painkillers to treat your ailments. And I'm saying, nope, if you can prescribe me cannabis, let me know, I'll go in that direction, but I don't want to take any of your stuff. So he says, unfortunately, we cannot refer you to any cannabis clinics, because the cannabis clinics that are there at the moment with the specialist panel, we have patients who are in worse conditions than you, who have not been able to qualify. So there's no chance that you're going to be able to qualify. So now I'm already being told this from my GP.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it was like, what's the harm? I need to find out. And what's the worst that can happen? They're going to say no.
It's a very high horse thing, man. It just absolutely wrecks my fucking head. If you're left in the fucking lurch by some sort of somebody that is supposed to fucking know what the ailments are, or how to treat it or whatever, and they go, oh, we can't, you don't qualify for this because you don't jump through these hoops. If you can take something, any fucking thing, to actually improve the betterment of your life, and you're being blocked by this sort of logistical fucking nonsense, I don't know what way to think of you. Honestly, the one thing that is common throughout doing these fucking podcasts is I am losing faith in systems. I'm losing faith in medical professionals. Do you know what I mean? For them to kind of go, strip out a fucking vein out of your leg, and then go, oh, you don't want to be doing cannabis? Oh, how many other fucking veins do you want? How many do you fucking want? Like, that kind of way. There should be some sort of thing written in, ideally, that says, If we don't have a fucking clue and you try cannabis and it works, off you pop. Do you know what I mean? Tick, here you go. No hassle. No fucking drama from the GP. Fucking hell. Sorry.
Yeah. They can't do that with cannabis, because then they'd have to do it with everything else. And then we just have to accept all of people's decisions as adults. And we can't live in a society where adults are allowed to make their own fucking decisions. Can you imagine the chaos there would be in this country if adults were allowed to be free and independent beings, free to think and act as they wanted? Jesus Christ, it'd be a nightmare. But yeah, it's a point that, again, Maka brings up wonderfully there, that we've seen time and fucking time again with this. I mean, we've had doctors refer for brain surgery before trying cannabis. We've seen doctors refer for year-long fucking therapies for really in-depth studies, for putting them on trials around untested therapies and unlicensed drugs ahead of giving them the oldest medicine on the planet. The main thing that we all know to be evident is that no one has ever died from consuming it. So that alone, if that's the bar that at least you're not going to die, if then it either alleviates something or you continue to not die. It's really hard to understand the reasoning and the logic here. And I think the wording that went through my head there was ignorant negligence.
Yeah. Yeah,
because
you don't even know you're being negligent.
Exactly, and that's scarier. That is far more terrifying, because those doctors don't know about your endocannabinoid system. When you talk to your dermatologist or your GP or any other specialist, and they're looking at these individual components that make up the body of you, they're not considering this one massive system that runs through all of it, that is interconnected and intertwined so deeply with all of the other narrow systems, organs, and the basic functionality of your body. And so if they can't then see that, how the fuck can they do any of this? So I think I doff my proverbial cap to you for having the fortitude to then sit with those individuals, those dermatologists, whoever, to actively show them, and to then truthfully explain to them what you have done, because that will empower others. It also means that when they're sat there seeing somebody in a similar position, instead of going, "There's fuck all we can do," they can quietly close their notes and say, "Well, have you thought about this? Have you ever looked at this?" Or, "I have heard this." There's ways in which they can engage those conversations without having to betray their sort of ethics and their professional conduct codes.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny you should say that, because the more information and education I absorbed about the endocannabinoid system's receptors and the CB1 receptors and CB2 receptors, the more I learned, the more I passed on to everyone that I spoke, because now I've been given the green light from my medical professionals telling me that I'm on the right track, and they don't have anything within the NHS that works so efficient and effectively. So they're telling me that, yes, you're on the right track, you keep doing it. So now I've got the go-ahead from the legal people who are treating me, who are my medical professionals. So it's like, right, so now my brain has overcome that hurdle, and now it's turned into a sponge again, and now it wants to absorb all the information and education. So every time that I went back to my surgery, I used to pass on information to them, take leaflets, sit down with my GP and nurses and talk with them what it says in the leaflets and explain it to them, and leave the information with them, with their permission, of course.
Nice. Yeah.
And so that they can, and they were so interested in about this that whenever they heard about cannabis topics, they would think of me. And whenever I'd come into a surgery, I said, "Oh, we had this question about cannabis, and then we thought about you. So we wrote a little note down. So when you come into a surgery for your dressing, we thought it would ask you." So it became like a teaching thing as well, that I used to educate them, and they would teach me some on the professional medical side, but I would teach them on the information that they didn't have. So it was quite interesting as well.
That's exactly what we need, and more people are doing this. I mean, you've had people admit this. I mean, I think I saw Mike Barnes say this publicly speaking a couple of years ago, that the average patient is far more informed than the average prescriber. They just don't know. And when it directly affects your life, when it's chronic pain, when it's chronic fatigue, when it's cancer, when it's whatever ailment or illness it is that you are keeping at bay, or the symptoms that you are alleviating, you want to learn more and know more. It's not just a case of, "Ooh, magic plant, me feel better." You have to understand that process. And the wonderful thing of cannabis over pharmaceutical substances is that relationship that you develop with it. And as you say, it evolves and changes over time. So going from being someone that was just an adult consumer that mixed with tobacco to then sort of recognizing the harms, being able to separate that and again get that different relationship. And now I suppose you're into that next chapter of your life, which is the legal protection that I suppose is granted from being prescribed cannabis. It means that that you have a reduction again further in that anxiety because you are not fearful of being a victim of prohibition. But I suppose there is the question I do want to ask is how do you feel knowing that you are one of a very select few? There's only a few thousand of you in the country, yet there's estimated to be 1.2 million people that would say that they need it for therapeutic means, and there's somewhere in the region of 5 to 6 million people consume it regularly anyway. So I was just sort of wondering how, because obviously you've come from the community and you've been present at a hell of a lot of events. Just sort of your thoughts on being one of the lucky few, as it were.
I do feel one of lucky few because, like I said, I had no idea that I'd actually be able to qualify. What the doctor had discussed with me, the consultant, he said to me that for my ailments,
Sorry, can I interrupt you a second, Fran? Is it possible to turn the music down? Because it's weird. When you're quiet, we can't hear it. Then when you speak, there's just an undertone of music cuts in.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. Thank you. What was I saying? Please remind me.
What was your question, Simpa? Let's put the pressure back on Simpa. Since you
I love how you do that.
You dickhead.
Yeah, sorry. It's just it was getting to us. Whatever song was kicking in there, I could feel was going to be ready.
He was ready to have a rave, man.
Yeah, I'm just exactly. I haven't been out in too long. We were talking about. I was asking you how you feel being sort of. I loosely termed it one of the lucky few to have a prescription.
Yeah, I'm with you. The doctor actually prescribed me a cannabis strain because, like I said, I didn't know if I was going to qualify. So he suggested I should go for an indica strain for the evening time called No DX Floss T17. So I said to him, what strain, cannabis strain, does this relate to? Because I've never heard of this. I understand you're using a medical term, but me as a cannabis consumer, I need to relate this to a strain. What would it be? He says, I don't know. This is just the information I've got in the book. So I was like, okay.
Sorry. Is that the fucking medical description of it's just weed, mate?
yeah, literally. It is what it says on the tin.
Just use it. Sorry.
He said to me, this is an indica and you'll need a sativa for the daytime. So I said, oh, okay, well, how much is the indica going to cost me for the evening? He says it's going to cost me £225 for 30 grams. I was like, okay. So now I'm being given figures and I'm trying to juggle the figures in my brain. It's like, better not lose track of this conversation while I'm trying to concentrate on the figures. The 225, I said, okay. All right, so what about the sativa one that you're trying to prescribe me? So he's given me 3 different options of the medical terminologies of the strains, and then he said they're going to cost you, I think it was £50 or £70 for 8 grams or 10 grams. It was somewhere along that I thought to myself, oh, that's not worth it. I better stick with the indica because I think that I can just about cover by saving it up for it. He says to me, well, for the daytime then, you're just going to have to take the tramadol and a paracetamol that you are. I said, well, I don't want to take the medication, which is why I'm trying to look at the medical cannabis side so I can come off completely off the medication that I'm taking. Also, this will give me the peace of mind of not having to look over my shoulder every time I'm consuming, because now I'm trying to get off the crossover the line where I'm illegal, an illegal consumer, to becoming a legal consumer. So that is gonna take a whole load of weight off my brain, off my chest. And I wouldn't have to fear looking over and getting in trouble by the law while I'm consuming my cannabis. doesn't matter where I consume it, I don't want to get in trouble, or made to feel like a criminal. So that was one of the benefits that I was looking forward to. And then when he told me that the cannabis is going to cost me £225, and I thought to myself, well, that's more or less near enough to the normal street value of normal cannabis that I'd be able to get. But then he's saying, well, you get the insurance of the safety, plus you'll get the safety that you don't have to leave your home. You will get it delivered to your door. I went, oh, okay, that's another advantage that, I wouldn't have to travel out and about. So I'm weighing up the advantages with the disadvantages. And I'm thinking, no, in the long term, it seems like it's going to work out for me. So I just need to put towards this. And originally, I didn't realize the price was going to be in its hundreds. I was expecting for them to say that it's going to be in its thousands, and for me to say no. I just wanted to find out how much it was, and thank you very much. I don't need your help. But no, when he said 225, I started working out of how much I can budget every 2 weeks when I get my benefit come in, and how I'd be able to pay for this. So I said to him, okay, well, for the time being, I don't think I can afford the sativa. I can only afford the indica. So what I'm going to do is consume the indica during the day, the afternoon, and the evening. And that's when he said that he would rather I consume the tablets, and he wouldn't advise me taking the indica during the daytime because it's going to make me tired. I said, well, I have been a consumer for many years, so I would be able to. And he says, well, we'll see how it goes with this one. So he's prescribed that to me. He said that this is the prescription that I'll be writing down, and if you pass, then the pharmacy will contact you. I said, okay. So this is supposed to take 2 to 3 weeks, but come Monday, this happened on a Friday. So come Monday now, this happened on a Saturday. Saturday at 9 o'clock in the evening was my appointment, I think. And at that time I thought, well, it's 9 o'clock in the evening. Sorry, is your appointment, office hours? He goes, no, we're not at the office. We're all working from home. So because I asked him some information about the cannabis, and he goes, oh, we don't have that around us because we're working from home. You'll have to get that information from the pharmacy. Okay, all right.
Can I interject for a sec? So there's a lot that is so wrong with that. And it just bothers. So I was trying to find a natural point to jump in and just be like, what? So the medical professionals, I'll air quote that for people that are listening, for them to be saying this is indica, this is sativa, that's an indica, so therefore it'll make you sleepy, is reductive science. It's bullshit. It's old hock. It doesn't make sense anymore. Why the hell they're not talking about terpenes? Why the hell they're not talking about other interactions with it? It's the synergy between cannabinoids and terpenes. We know this. You can have a 10% THC strain with the right combination of terpenes that are sedatory that will knock you down. You could then have something at 30% THC and with then some uplifting, euphoric-inducing sort of terpene profile to it. That's what's going to affect you. And we've already seen there's conversations going on. There's organizations in the UK that have done various testing on these medical cannabis prescriptions, and they're finding wild variation between the strains. So they're prescribing them this is our 22% THC, and then in the test results it's coming back anywhere from 17 to like 24. So the reason that we're told that they are the gatekeepers and they're the prescribers is because they know more. Well, clearly that's unevident. That they would be able to provide more of a regular, consistent supply. Well, that's not true, because there's a lot of rumors flying around that things are being mispackaged. And as you've seen of like ground products then being distributed instead of whole buds. It's not what we're being told that it should be. And for the level it is, and for what you're having to go through and the hoops you're having to jump through, it really should be at a higher level. But they're not up to the level of your average. Well, it's not the average. You're above average grower and consumer. The knowledge base is just not there. As you said there, the fact that he's gone, I can't get access to this information because I'm not in the office. He should know that. That should be ingrained into their brain. They should know that offhand. They should be able to answer every and any question that you have about cannabis.
Yeah,
there needs to be a competency exam if people are going to be prescribers.
This is what I came to realize, that they have no information about what they're prescribing. They're only going from the information they've got on their system. So they're not even cannabis consumers. I asked the consultant, "Are you a cannabis consumer?" He said, "No, I don't consume it." So I said, "How can you recommend or even prescribe me a cannabis strain which you have no knowledge about, because you're not a consumer, so you wouldn't be able to understand where I'm coming from."
Well, even if they've just had some form of consumption, they would at least be able to sympathize with them, because otherwise, if they're just like, oh, they've turned that dangerous street drug into, now it's magical. When it comes into our door, that's the magic weed. The other stuff out there, that's that dangerous addictive stuff, and it's causing all the kids to stab each other. That kind of mentality.
Excuse me. The people on the phone, the actual consultants, though, or are they actual like admin? Do you know what I mean? It sounds like an NHS office that just deals with paperwork that are reading from a script, or a call center. So I mean, you can. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so they, as far as I'm concerned, they are not trained in the cannabis field. They have just opened up a business, and they have employed doctors or so-called doctors from different fields to come and prescribe cannabis from reading a script off the computer. So they're not actually trained in cannabis to be prescribing cannabis. So when I asked him about terpenes and the strains, he had no idea of what it was. So I just had to go with, okay, it's coming in a budded form, and it's called NoDX Floss T17. Floss reminds, sounds like something to do with your teeth.
It does.
It's Dutch for flowers or something, isn't it?
It's binary code for Stardog. Sorry, that didn't even make sense, but the cadence character.
Anything where Stardog is the butt of the joke is going to typically be funny. So when you received your prescription, what was your sort of thoughts on the flower? What did you think of the bud?
Just before I received the prescription, I had a chat with the pharmacist, who called me up on a Monday to say that they've received my scanned copy, and which means that they can now collect the payment. And then they're waiting for the hard copy to arrive before they can actually go ahead and do the dispatch and deliver it to me, which should take another 2 to 3 days. I said, okay. So I asked them more information, and they didn't really have any information either. So I made the payment of, they said it's £235 because £10 is for postage. So the medicine is £225 plus £10 postage, £235 plus the £70 that I paid for the consultation. So now I've got this 30 grams of indica, NoDX Floss T17, and I have no idea of how to look up the information. I've Googled it, but I can't seem to find any information. So I've mentioned this to my friend, the receptors. They've had a look and found out the information, found a chart. And on that chart, it says that the T17 strain, it falls underneath the shishka berry family. So you got shishka berry, and then you got dash underneath it to say that this is part of that family. So I said, okay, well, now I have a rough idea of what I'm dealing with, because when I got the cannabis, it looked lovely. It didn't have a pungent smell, gassy smell like how normal weed does. But it looked full of trichomes. It had bits of purple in it and green, and it was nice and budded. So when I actually pinched into it, because I'd done a review over Instagram, I pinched into it and I cracked it open, and that's when I could smell the berryish smell, the scent, like sweetish, but really you could smell the berries in it. And I was really impressed. So I obviously popped it into the vaporizer, dry herb vaporizer, and I gave it a few goes. And then I think after the 6th session of vaporization, half an hour afterwards, I started to feel slight sedativeness, slight relaxation. So now I'm starting to think, okay, this is starting to kick in now, because I'm strictly focusing on the information that was provided. Also, the consultant said that one of the medications would be coming from Dutch and the other one would be coming from Canada. But when I actually received the medication, it says it's from Australia. So they clearly do not know where the medication is coming from.
Well, yeah, we know there's been like I said, issues with supply, and that they're just then filling it. And what they're doing is, because they're prescribing, oh, this is an indica at 22%. They just look at the list of other international companies that are capable of distributing, and they go, we need a 22% indica. So it doesn't matter how varied the profile is. It doesn't matter anything to them. And then even still, we're still sold this lie that what my experience of consumption will be yours. All three of us we smoke the same strain, the same bud from the same plant, and it will act differently upon us. So it's so hard for them to be able to prescribe and to try and then give comfort and a confident advice as to what the outcome and the effect of this will be. So it just further then goes to show that it can't really be prescribed in that way in terms of the plant itself. Isolated compounds can sort of, novel drugs that are then being created because they have far more predictable effects because it's an isolated compound rather than this cluster of hundreds of other different minor and major compounds.
Yeah. I actually made that 30 grams last 2.5 weeks because obviously I was digging into it during the daytime, in the afternoon and in the evening. So I stretched it to 2.5 weeks, and now I'm thinking, okay, my medication is finishing. I've found out about Project 2021, and I want to contact them and ask them to put me onto Project 2021 because the only way I could do that was through the consultation, through the consultant doctor, from the information that I looked up. And I emailed, well, I thought I emailed it. It's like I did send an email. But I didn't get a response back. I left messages on the answering machine at the medical cannabis clinic that I would like to be transferred onto Project 2021 for the follow-up and continue on that. I got no response, no messages. I got so frustrated that I ended up thinking, right, I've got my benefit money that's just come in. I could either pay for the follow-up and then speak to them about Project 2021 and then pay a whole load of money again to go into Project 2021, or I just don't go for the follow-up and I'll re-register through Project 2021. And just to get myself out the frustration and the headache and the stress of not being able to get hold of anyone to speak with, I rebooked and I went through the options of Google again, and I went into the medical cannabis clinic. And this time with the £70 consultation fee, underneath it said Project 2021, £90 consultation. So now I'm thinking, okay, now I've got to fork out another £90 for another consultation, but through Project 2021. But I'm trying to look at the positive sides of it, which is like £150 is going to cost me for 30 grams instead of £235. So which means that with £150 for the indica, I may just about go over slightly into the overdraw into my account and be able to cover the sativa for the daytime. So I've spoken to the consultant through Project 2021. He's asked me, he says, you've already registered with us, so how come you've come through to me? I said, well, first of all, I couldn't get hold of any of you to speak with anyone. And so to get myself out of the frustration, I thought I'd book it all over again. And here we are. So he says, okay, how can I help you? And I said, well, the strain that he's prescribed me, it wasn't strong enough. It was in the first few days, but then obviously my body became immune to it and it wasn't having the same effect. It lasted 2.5 weeks, not even a full month. And now I'm in the situation where I've run out of medication and I need help. So he said, okay, well, I can prescribe you. I said to him that I'm at a high tolerance. So he's prescribed me an indica, 20%.
So was it the same sort of spiel then? Sorry, I'm gonna have to kind of rush. There's a few finalized questions that I want to get sort of done. So you basically then got the same sort of spiel from Project 21.
Well, this is the thing. The doctor didn't have any idea whether it came in a budded form or a granulated form. So this is the question, because I'd read some reviews, and some reviews said it comes in bud. Some reviews says it comes in a in a ground up form. So I'm getting worried now. I don't want to get prescribed the wrong thing. So I'm specifically asking the consultant, is it in a grounded up or is it budded? I want the budded one. So he's saying to me, okay, whether it's grounded up or budded doesn't matter. It still has the same medicinal value. I said, well, I don't care. I just want budded cannabis. That's what I'm paying for. He says, okay, he doesn't have that information on the system. So I've got a call from Dispensary Green to say, okay, they received my scanned copy and they're ready to collect payment. I said, before I make the payment, I would like to know if it's budded, because that's what I'm asking for. I don't want anything that's crushed up. And they said, no, we can guarantee you, reassure you, it will all be budded. You'll get budded cannabis. I said, okay. So come Friday now, I've received the parcel. I'm doing the unpackaging on Instagram. I've unpackaged the first 3 packets, which came from Israel, 10 gram packets. And they were nice buds and everything. Now I've gone to unpackage the pots, which came from Australia, plastic pots. And to my surprise, it's all crushed up twigs and leaf. It all came ground up. And, so I've tried to consume that over the 4 days until following Monday. I could not get any medicinal benefits from it or no therapeutic benefits from it. I contacted the Dispensary Green and they said to me, well, because you went through Project 2021, a subsidized cost, you're stuck with whatever you can get. I said, what do you mean? I said, you reassured me that I'm getting buds. I've made the payment, and now you send me this ground up rubbish, and I'm complaining about it, and you're telling me that I'm stuck with it.
So then obviously then willing to offer a refund or anything. At this point, what are you then looking to do? Are you going to continue with Project 21, or do you think you're going to look at other clinics?
I have actually contacted the Sapphire Clinic today and explained the whole situation to them, and they said, because you're from an existing clinic, we will happily take you over from that clinic, and your first consultation fee is only going to be £50 instead of £100.
And they're quite happy to poach a client from one of their competitors, I imagine.
And these people seem to have a lot more knowledge about strains and cannabis that they're prescribing to their patients. So, which is what I want. I want to speak to somebody who knows what they're prescribing.
Well, how can you make informed decisions if you are not informed? All right. So Sapphire seems to be sort of the next step that you're going through. Obviously, as you said, literally today. So we'll obviously have to have a catch up at some point and see where you're going with this. I'm gonna kind of, I suppose, now that we've caught up to literally today, I'm gonna throw some quick fire questions at you.
Yes.
Right. So some of these are going to be a bit maybe difficult to answer, and maybe you can answer some of them just off the fly. So, what is your favorite, or what has been so far your favorite UK event?
Okay. That has to be
no pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure. To start off with, it has to be the Durham City Cannabis Club events. Because those are the ones that I actually forced myself to attend to, because I knew the people, I knew the environment, and I knew any event outside London would be perfect, would be safe. So complete change of environment. The people are so much more friendlier and welcoming. It's incredible. So it's more welcoming.
Big up the Northerners.
So one of your events, then we got Borofest. Borofest was another event that I attended, and Product Earth.
Big love for Product Earth.
Eye-opening events, and those were the best events for myself. And then, of course, we had the private events, which were on a complete different level. But the public official events, Product Earth, your event, we've got the Too Loud event that happens, you've got the Borofest, Product Earth. These are the main ones. These are the main ones.
Yeah, and then you got like Brumston, obviously don't forget Green Pride. And obviously, you got our 420 events.
I've only ever been to Durham 420. That's the only one I've ever been to. Well,
no, you went
twice.
You went to the Autumn Expo as well. Which was
but it was the same place.
Same place, but a very different vibe. We had everything. We had the whole grounds. We had all the hotel rooms, 24 hours. It was a
sweet cabin.
Very, very, very unique event indeed. Well, I suppose we've already covered some of these already, which was like about when you started consuming, how you've consumed. So I suppose quick fire again then. Cafe club or coffee shop? It doesn't have to be sort of one of them, but it could be all of them. But what would be sort of your preference if you put all three in order? 1, 2, 3.
Coffee shop.
Coffee shop
Cannabis,
first.
cannabis coffee shop, yeah. Cannabis club coffee shop,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
It's like a hybrid of all.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the only club sort of environment that I actually experienced originally first was All Strains Cannabis Club in South London, because there was just sort of a 15-minute, 20-minute journey from where I lived. It was very easy for me to catch a bus and attend there. And once I got in there, it was like I didn't want to leave. I was like a child in a candy shop, just like, you're gonna have to carry me out on a stretcher. I'm not gonna leave.
Do the old Mo one. It's like, I don't know where you're sleeping, but it can't be here.
It's when I first started getting into Instagram, because obviously to join that club, I had to be a member on Instagram. That's how everyone communicated. I said, "What's Instagram? All right, here's my phone. Please do the honors." Set me up an Instagram account, and then everyone put their contacts into there, and off I went onto my Instagram journey.
Nice.
So yeah. All Strains, massive shout out to All Strains.
Nice. Next question. I suppose you've already been answered this, and maybe it's answered by your title already. Would Mayor Green ever consider running for political office? Would you ever be interested in local council or anything maybe larger?
Of course, if it's got anything to help cannabis along and ease the rules, then yeah, definitely. Anything to help promote and normalize cannabis is the way forward. Is absolutely. If that is a platform that would be offered, then that is an opportunity that should be taken.
Wait, if we can have Buckethead and whatever the hell the other guy's name is, Mayor Green can stand in Croydon. We could see this. I mean, after speaking with Alan Boothry and Winston Matthews on my live the other week, I've gone through this whole journey. I've been writing these blogs for a couple of different websites about like the culture and history, and looking at the original coffee shops in the 90s and then into the early noughties, and kind of what the Legalized Cannabis Alliance did in terms of creating like a political movement. And I truly believe that there's merit in that people like yourself standing in all regions and being loud and proud and bringing attention to this subject, because it's not just the therapeutic benefits for us as individuals. It's not just regulation of our mental health. It's, the tackling climate change. It's dealing with wealth inequality. It's literally growing the future beneath our feet. You know what I mean? It's giving us that opportunity for prosperity. So yeah, I can see it. I can see it. I can literally see it on the stage with the other candidates in their boring suits and their one splash of color on their tie, and you're just bright and proud, man. I can see it.
Well, cannabis, whatever reason anyone consumes cannabis for, it would always provide healing benefits. Doesn't matter.
Whether they want it or not. This is the sneaky thing of it. Yeah, it's gonna supplement your endocannabinoid system. Whether you vape some of the most organic, purest, nicest, and whether you then get some unloved cupboard weed and then you binge and smoke 7 grams of it in an evening and you wake up and you're a bit foggy and whatever the next day, you've still supplemented your system regardless. And I think that's the conversation that's going to happen once these doctors realize they can't fit this beautiful plant into their narrow little. But page 407 says that you must this, and this page says this. It's like, fuck you. I've been using it for however long. I know my body. I know my endocannabinoid system. They have to start accepting our lived experience. They have to start taking that feedback. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, just to let you know, Sapphire clinics have now been implemented into the NHS. So you will be seeing more and more Sapphire clinics opening up all over the UK.
Is that right?
Because soon you'll be able to get referred to cannabis treatment through your local GP. The local GPs have been given guidelines to start taking courses with regards to cannabis. This has kicked off about a month ago, and it's already started. It's already started.
It seems to be the groundwork that's being laid by Mike Barnes and co. If you look at the 10 commandments there, but yeah, they've released these 10 recommendations as part of the Maple Tree Consultants and Mackerel Solicitors document. I can't pull the title out of my arse, that's why my eyes just rolled there. But in this document, they make these 10 recommendations, and one of them is to ease the restrictions and change the guidelines so that all all GPs can then prescribe, but what they want to do is be prescribing through internally the NHS. Whereas again, what worries me of this is Sapphire is obviously a private organization. I'm often accused of being socialist and quite hippie and left leaning, but I suppose with that comes a protectionist argument toward the NHS. And so, as I pitched to Hannah Deacon, who we had on the show last week, you wonderful people can go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. We discussed the idea of like the NHS being a cultivator, being its own. So rather than us importing fucking cannabis from Australia, from Israel, from Canada, it's grown here. Because I mean, look, the carbon sequestration technology of it, all these things that we could create, all the potential benefits of it are being missed by us having this nuanced conversation about the therapeutic benefits when ascribed to a certain condition, and only then when they are the gatekeepers.
Can I just show you the cannabis that I got? Definitely. Do we have any time?
Yeah, please do. We've got 5 more minutes.
Okay, let me see if I can flip this around. No, I don't know how to flip it around, so I'm just gonna show you.
Okay.
Bear with me. I've got me my little neck loop.
Nice. Always with the tech, this man. From the first time I met Farhan on the street in London, we're gonna give me a double, one of those dual lighters. And every time I see him, he's like, check out this new toy, check out this new thing, look at this new vape.
I don't know. Can you see the box?
Yeah.
Yeah, wicked.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
This is actually I got selected as a judge for the CBD category for the Secret Cannabis Cup. So they sent me a whole load of extracts through with gummies and everything. So this was the pot that I received through the medical cannabis clinic.
Shout out Boveda.
Can you see?
Did you put the Boveda packs in?
No, they came. They came in the packs, in the pots. One of the pots didn't have a Boveda sachet in it, but all the others did, which led me to believe there may be a...
That is some serious shake.
Right, I was just about to say, fucking hell, man.
Have you got a card or something that you could like lift the edge and like scrape it slightly, see what amount of trichomes are left? Use the Boveda and scrape what you've got on the box.
Okay.
And then but leave a slight edge so you see if I'm just trying to see how much trichomes are going to be left on the
There isn't. From what I've seen, there isn't trichomes on there. You've got leaf, you've got twigs in there.
I don't know. So shout out to our old school stoners who were the middle of the noughties, or we call it the noughties, 2000 to 2010, whatever the hell they call that decade. There was MDF weed, brickweed that was just that compressed, and you broke it off like MDF, like just pieces of that shitty compacted wood.
Oh, the fun there. Did you just throw a nostalgic throwback to the noughties? Like, yes.
It is. It's over a decade ago. It's now over. Get with the time.
I'm not having that. No way, man.
Somebody asked.
You could have went with Tice. You could have went with the bricks, man.
I could have gone with something good, but the point was I was showing out the nostalgia of how shit it was, how far we have truly come.
So that is what I've received,
and so they're not accepting your want of a refund or providing an alternative?
They're not giving a refund. They said we can't replace it. We can't resolve the situation. And we cannot take the medication back because it's against the law. I said, well, if I went to my local pharmacy and I asked them for morphine, they gave me tablets, I would have gone back to them and I said, I wanted syrup. They would exchange that for me. That's the correct way of buying and selling. You can't tell me that you've...
But they are correct because of the way they've screwed themselves with their system and all their little loopholes. They can only do what they can do only the way they can do it. That's why they do it. That was a horrible sentence, but it made perfect sense. So you've given us a lot to think about, Farhan, and you've really have given people that won't know you or may have spotted you in your suit around various events around the UK and probably will over the summer, an insight into who you are. And I think that is, again, the very reason that we do this. So thank you very much for coming on. I'm sorry I'm having to kind of cut this short, but I've got to get to a meeting.
I appreciate you having me.
we'll definitely have you on again in the future. You'll have to let us know how you get on with Sapphire, and we'll see if the NHS end up prescribing as you are saying. And if so, hopefully we'll get you back on here when you've got a lovely piece of paper with that nice NHS logo in the corner.
And if any of you, I'm sorry, I completely interrupted you. Could you repeat that?
Me?
Yeah, I just interrupted you.
Sorry. Before we end everything, just to let you know that I have been robbed of £150. So them telling me that they can't help me, and I just feel like a fraud's been committed against me. So I am in the procedure of complaining to my bank and trying to get funds put back into my account, because obviously it's a sale of faulty goods. I got sold something that I didn't want, and they're not taking it back.
But
So what do I do with it?
Have a look into it as well. They will more than likely have some form of regulated body or some regulator that is independent that will have to look into that, because there is Goods and Services Acts and laws and legislation in this country that means if you commercially sell something and somebody buys it and they've screwed you, they have to then recompense you for it. So is
there an ombudsman?
Is that why your face lit up before because of that pun? Okay.
Wrap it up, mate. That's it. We're done. Can't top that.
That's the best joke of the evening, folks. You can catch up with Farhan. I'm sure Mr. Macker, if he hasn't shown it already, will click now, and you will be able to see Farhan's Instagram page, Mayor Green _420. Go give it a follow. See what
Canahan is the main one.
Far Canahan.
That's the one.
Sweet. Can you pull that up for us quickly then, Macker?
Try my best.
You'll see a big yellow smiley face with the cannabis glasses.
Put me under pressure here, man. Oh, I totally got it. But the account is private, so that's the address. You can go and add him up there. I'm sure he'll let you in. What I was about to say was before I rudely interrupted was if you're curious about Farhan's suit, there will be a small little snippet for you on the Patreon if you are interested. There you go.
There you go. A little bit of behind the scenes. So do the final bit of housekeeping. Thank you very much again for being here, Farhan. Thank you very much, you wonderful people, for watching and listening to this. And I'm sorry for just speaking over you there, brother. Guys, as Maka just alluded to before, please check us out on patreon.com/Simpa Life. You can find us on all social media platforms at Simpa Life. Check out the bi-weekly/weekly live I'm doing on a Thursday whenever I can get around to it and I'm not busy with current deadlines and writing and whatnot. Check out all previous episodes available now at thesimpalife.com and all good places to get your podcasts. The cadence of my voice talking faster and faster indicates that this is the end of the podcast.
He's there for a week.
Go and enjoy your evening. I kind of am, and I got to go and get a meeting on. Right. Peace and love, folks.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Good health and happiness to everyone. Keep up the good work, all.